Greetings and welcome to Enigmatic. I feel that I'm coming to an inflection point in my life, but then at the same time, I feel like every day is some inflection point in my life. Some might say that that's just due to a certain type and classification of awareness that I have. I tend to think that it's because I'm neurotic, but what I'm moving towards is I'm coming to a point where I just don't give a fuck anymore. And that's not to say that, I'm completely carefree and nothing matters and anything like that. But a lot of the things that I feel I take and make considerations with regards to, I just don't fucking feel like it anymore. Um, it's like too much of a good thing to be too considerate. And this kind of lines up in a pathway to something that a doctor told me when I was in the mental hospital a long time ago. I was just going off about certain things that were going on in my head and that were causing me distress. And he just told me, he paused for a moment and just told me, "You're too smart for your own good." And that's not something that I necessarily like to share or say, because then I worry about sounding ignorant, or not ignorant, arrogant. And I'm not trying to say it with any sort of ego or anything. It's, part of my experience as a human on this planet, right? Just because of how loaded ideas of intelligence are. But too much of a good thing is a bad thing. That's, the point to hammer home. And maybe I need to, take some of these things into consideration a bit more, because that one little insight from that doctor, I feel that in some ways it makes sense more and more as I age and get older and reflect, you know. I feel very like lonely and isolated in a lot of ways, and I'm finding it hard to find the spark to be motivated and engaged. And sometimes it's because, and oftentimes I should really say, let's be honest, oftentimes it's because I'm bored. I don't find a lot of things stimulating anymore. It's hard to find things that I really want to get into, I want to dive into. I'm not really into media that much anymore. I mean, I love music, but I'm not as engaged in music as I used to be. Um, for some reason, I just don't care about stories as much as I used to, even though I'm trying to shift that. Um, and this isn't to say that, I'm like closed-minded or anything. It's just that I've run the gamut on a lot of things, and it's hard. It's like, how do we put this into words? I think it's hard to put into words because I don't usually consider saying any of this. But, this is an exercise in not giving a fuck. It's just, everything is just so vapid and insipid. It seems like it's like there's no taste to it. And then with like AI being added to everything, I'm just disinterested. There's a certain element of consciousness that seems inherent and important to a lot of human creation that is taken away once we start defaulting to AI. Like if you're writing a story and you want to use AI, like I understand it for brainstorming or planning or editing, but for like actually writing it, you lose credit if the AI wrote it. But anything else that you could feasibly outsource to another person and still take credit for that work, you know, I think that should be okay. I know this is kind of random, but again, I don't give a fuck, and I think I need to just do this kind of shit in order to really hammer a lot of different things home. So just speak my mind, and unfortunately, yeah, it's gonna rub some people wrong, but I don't even have to engage thereafter. Because I'm another thing that I'm learning or becoming more and more aware of as I get older, and just understanding the way I think relative to what we can experience from how other people think, say it that way, because we've never solved the problem of other minds. But I'm on a very different wavelength. Like I'm an enigmatic person. Like this is why the channel is named this. So why am I holding back? Right? The fuck. But this is like also deep inner personal work. It's cutting binds, it's peeling layers. So if I have to keep hammering the same point home, then keep hammering the same point home. Repetition is the father of learning. Chop wood, carry water. That's all there is to it. It's interesting as well that I'm coming to this point because I feel okay right now. I'm just tired, and I had a headache for most of the morning, but I haven't really done any medicine work in a little bit. Just taking a little bit of a break, and I feel good about that. But I'm hindered in that regard as well, with regards to like care and worry and concern. So that's another area where I'm just like, I kind of don't give a fuck anymore. Some of my inhibitions are still going to be present, but that doesn't mean that they can't start to lose their power and subsequently fall away. The other thing I've been trying to do lately is revisit myself, but it's like really hard for me to fucking do it. I'd rather you know toxify my mind with YouTube slop than revisit myself and grow from that point. If I feel like such a fractured individual right now, like, show myself some love by engaging with myself in that way. It's a lot to just navigate having a self, all of us. And it's not the same for everyone, right? Your existence is going to have a certain appearance of being easier, for example, if there's more people that have things in common with you and that relate to you in your immediate environment, right? Um, but with populism getting more popular and intellectualism being attacked, for me personally, that's something that is becoming harder to come across. I feel very lonely, very isolated because, like I said, I don't feel like I'm met on my level very often. I was telling my therapist last week how, I feel like when I need help, when I have needs that need to be met, I feel like I have to handhold in order to, to help somebody help me. And I don't find it as helpful as I would like it to be, right? So I just try to figure out how to get through everything on my own. There's a lot of philosophical points to most contexts that I find very important, and it's hard for me to just ignore them. It's also about being honest with myself. And now, though, what we need to work on is being more personal with ourselves. So that's going to be a long road, but we're going to start it right now because I need to eat. So we're going to get some food. So that being said, if you like this kind of content, about self-care and mental health, philosophy, things like that, please give me a like and subscribe. And be good to you, be good to others. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.